Bro, imagine building a fence on your own property and waking up to find the HOA chopped it down like some discount lumberjack crew. Yeah, that happened to me. And when they tried to blame me, I took this whole circus straight to court. Stick around because this isn't just a fence. This is war. The story begins with a slow panoramic sweep. The quiet neighborhood, the trimmed lawns, the perfect fake smiles. And then my home. Not the biggest, not the fanciest, but mine. The place I bought to get away from the nonsense I grew up around. I'd lived in apartments, duplexes, rentals where neighbors argued, fought, and stepped on each other's boundaries like it was a sport. So when I bought a house in this peaceful community, I thought I was finally stepping into a calm, predictable life. Then I met the HOA. It started small emails about lawn length, garbage placement, mailbox paint. Annoying? Yes. Unexpected? No. But the day I decided to build a fence, everything changed. You see, the fence wasn't just wood. It was freedom, privacy, a line between my life and theirs. I did everything right. Filed for permits, paid for inspections, got approval in writing from the HOA themselves. But the thing about certain people who crave control, people who see rules as weapons, not guidelines, those people don't like when someone follows the rules better than they do. The HOA president, Karen, of course, showed up 3 days into construction. Her sunglasses as wide as her ego. Her clipboard like a sword she thought could cut through common sense. She inspected the fence like she was assessing a nuclear reactor. It's too tall, she said. It's exactly the allowed height, I replied. It looks imposing, she added. That's literally the point. She didn't like that answer. She walked away without another word. But I could feel her anger trailing behind her like smoke from a wildfire. The fence went up beautifully. Clean lines, sturdy beams, a warm, natural stain that made my whole backyard feel like a sanctuary. But the week after it was finished, the letters started. Your fence disrupts the uniformity of the community. Your fence blocks sight lines. Your fence may attract unwanted animals. Your fence may lower neighborhood morale. Neighborhood morale. What does that even mean? I ignored it, because again I had approval. Until one morning, at 6:12 a.m., I woke to a sound I'll never forget. Snap, crack, thud. First I thought maybe a tree branch fell. A storm. Something natural. But when I pulled back my curtains, what I saw didn't feel natural at all. 3 people, all wearing HOA badges, all standing in my yard, with giant orange bolt cutters. And my fence, my legal, approved, permitted fence, leaning sideways like a wounded animal. And Karen, standing proudly with her hands on her hips, like she'd just liberated a village. My heart slammed, my fists tightened. But I wasn't stupid. I didn't run out there yelling. I grabbed my phone, and I pressed record. What happened next would become the most important evidence of my life. There's a moment when someone crosses the line so boldly, so confidently, so stupidly, that something inside you clicks. A switch flips. That was the moment for me. As I watched Karen and her little HOA demolition crew slice through the last beam of my fence, I realized something. They thought they owned me. They thought they owned everything. So I let them finish. Let them dig their own grave plank by plank. Because while they were cutting wood, I was collecting evidence. When they were done destroying my fence, they left the pieces in a pile on my lawn and walked away like they had done some heroic community service. At 9 a.m., a new email arrived. A violation notice. Your property contains unauthorized debris. You must remove it immediately or face fines. They tore down my fence, and then fined me for the mess they made. That was the moment I stopped playing defense. I dragged the broken pieces to my garage, saved every beam, every bolt, every splinter. Then I grabbed my laptop and sent one email to my attorney. Subject: HOA destruction of property urgent. Within 2 hours, we had a strategy. Step 1. Collect all footage from my cameras. Step 2. Obtain HOA approval copies. Step 3. Document damage professionally. Step 4. file a civil claim. But the HOA wasn't done. Oh no. The next week, they called a mandatory meeting in the clubhouse. When I walked in, every board member was sitting there like a jury. Karen was at the head of the table, smirking. "We understand you constructed a fence without proper approval," she began. I slid a printed copy of their approval letter onto the table. Her smile cracked. "We believe your fence may have been in violation of community standards." She tried again. I played the footage on my tablet. The room fell silent. Then, the final blow. I handed them the lawsuit. Trespassing, vandalism, property destruction, harassment, retaliation. The color drained from Karen's face like someone unplugged her. "We can discuss this," she tried. "No," I said. "You cut through a boundary. Now we're cutting through the lies." Court day arrived. Karen strutted in wearing her usual "I'm above the law" outfit. But when our footage played on the giant courtroom screen, the judge's jaw dropped. "This," she said, "is one of the clearest cases of HOA overreach I've ever seen." Karen tried to explain. "It was structurally unsafe. It passed inspection," the judge interrupted. "It was too tall. It met regulations. It violated community morale." "What does that even mean?" the judge snapped. In the end, the judgment was swift and brutal. HOA must pay full replacement cost, pay all legal fees, pay punitive damages, issue written apology, remove Karen from her position effective immediately. When the gavel hit, Karen covered her face. But there was no hiding. Justice isn't quiet. It echoes. The next week, contractors rebuilt my fence. Stronger, taller, and reinforced with steel posts. I added a small sign. "Private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted." Karen never stepped foot near my yard again. And the neighborhood? Safer, quieter, more respectful. Because sometimes, they don't learn from rules. They learn from consequences. And as I stood there watching the new fence rise, beam by beam, stronger than before, something hit me. This wasn't just about wood. It wasn't about rules. It wasn't even about the HOA. It was about proving that nobody, not a neighbor, not a board, not a self-appointed community queen, has the right to tear down what you legally built. Because when someone crosses your line, you don't shrink. You don't fold. You don't let it go. You stand up. You push back. You make sure they never try it again. So yeah, they cut down my fence. But in the end, they only sawed through their own power. And if you're out there dealing with an HOA, a Karen, or anyone who thinks they control your life, just remember, sometimes the strongest wall isn't the one you build outside. It's the one you build inside when you refuse to back down. If you enjoyed the story, hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around. Because trust me, there are a lot more battles where this one came from.